and so forth. So it was withdrawn, and then the land was sold to private owners. So now we had 4 owners. And then, of course, Kaiholena, which was subdivided into 6, we ended up purchasing Kaiholena. Lama Laloa, which is also on our list, was one of those 4 parcels. Keawe Nui was one of those 4 parcels. And Kapala'oa was the 4th. Kapala'oa was owned by a person who was on the board of directors of the Nature Conservancy. And so for many years, we had so many projects in front of us that we put that one on the back burner because we figured that this person had preservation somewhere in his mind. A little over 2 years ago, we heard that the owner was going to put it on the market. And so we approached him, and with the same team of our group, Hawaiian Islands Land Trust, and Alakahakai National Historic Trail, we approached the owners. And we worked with him for about 8 months. We encouraged him to get an appraisal, which he did. We made him an offer at just below the appraisal, which he felt was okay. We had a difference of opinion over how long it would take for us to have a payout. And he eventually walked away from the discussions and put it on the market for a much higher price. And it's been on the market now for almost 2 years. He does not have a buyer. And so it's time for us to make our move. If you remember last year, there was a nomination for Kapala'oa. It came from outside of North Kohala. And we appreciated that other people see how beautiful this property is. But we decided to make a formal one on Kapala'oa. So those are the 2. And what I'm going to do is not take up a lot of time now unless you have questions, because when you get around to the discussion, I will be here to answer any questions you have on any of the parcels.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Next up, approval of minutes. We can do them all at once. We're just accepting them. We're not
discussing or debating them. We're accepting them,
Yeah.
acknowledging that we've received them.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
So I move to accept and file communications 18-001 through 18-021.
And I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion approved. Then we have 2 later communications, 18-022 from CAFA. And we need a motion to put this on the agenda and then approve.
Chair, where are those other 2? I didn't.
They're right after the one with the big tree on it. And then the following one is another communication.
I have a question. Excuse me. I have a question. Just for clarification, does this refer to last year's priorities number 1 and 6?
Just number
Both of
6.
those?
Just number 6, just the CAFA proposal.
This was,
It
they were
was,
withdrawing the nomination and acquisition of Kahili Pali'iki, Nui, and Waikopuna. Last year, we submitted, and it's in our annual report, 2 separate
yeah, so
acquisitions. One was priority 1 and the other was 6. So
This
I
is just
for
number 6.
clarification, is this for both of those?
just number 6.
Just number 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
I move that we accept these 2 submissions. What's the numbers?
18022 and 18023. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now, do we go back and discuss? Or do we continue on until? All right. Next up is chairperson's report. I have nothing to report. Next we have Hamana Ventura, Department of Finance.
Hello and good morning, members of the commission, Chair Tomich. Hamana Ventura, property manager. Before we get to your questions, I'd just like to give you a quick update. We have, since the last meeting, we've undergone 2 contracts in escrow. One of our properties has already been funded as of this past Friday and will record on Wednesday. The second parcel, which is in escrow at this particular time, is we're working with State Legacy Land Commission to finish up the application packet so that they can release funds for the acquisition of the second parcel. So we're deep into both of these transactions as we speak. By Wednesday, we will have a new parcel to add to the inventory.
Excuse me, I'm getting a lot of static on here, so I can't, I couldn't make out what Hamana was saying.
1 second.
It's loud, but so is the static.
Okay.
I'll take a couple-minute recess.
Okay. Thank you. We expect it to go to recording under acquisition within the next few months. We're going through Legacy Land Commission to make sure that our application, they do their due diligence so that the state can disperse their funds along with county to purchase this other parcel. Okay. Any other questions?
Could you tell us which of those 2 mentioned?
Since they're both under contract at this time, I'm not going to be able to identify the parcels per se. And I think the biggest reason is that when we're under contract and the negotiations are confidential for one thing, but we're also getting into some situations sometimes where we get pushback from the public on these particular transactions as well. So once they go under contract, they get to close. In between, we're not going to discuss what's transpiring until it records and it falls under county inventory.
Is this because it might affect the negotiations?
It potentially could affect negotiations, and it also could affect timelines as well.
Of those 2, one of them you said recorded, right?
One will record on Wednesday. Funds were dispersed on Friday to escrow.
Just a reminder, when we speak, please turn on your mic. Anything
Renee.
else?
Sound check? You okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to hear you.
Thank you. Same as well.
All right, thank you, Hamana.
Mahalo.
Before the Department of Finance report, we have one more testimony from the public. Laura Kaokua.
Aloha, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Laura Kaakua. I'm with the Trust for Public Land and with the County Fox. And we just wanted to say aloha to you folks and touch base with a quick update on Waitapuna. Since the last time that we had a chance to give you an update, the Board of Land and Natural Resources did approve the state legacy land conservation funding of $2 million, and that will be a grant directly to the nonprofit, the Hawaii Island nonprofit Alakahakai Trail Association, and so that's a positive step forward. And right now, we are in very regular contact with the landowner. They still very much want us to succeed in raising of the funds for the purchase. We have started community outreach in Ka'u and are working with the area council member to make sure that that outreach continues, and we'll be looking forward to hopefully having a resolution introduced shortly. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hamana, would you entertain Rick?
Good morning, Hamana Ventura, property manager.
I have been hearing rumors that there might be changes in financing of this program, and I was wondering if you could update us on any of that you're aware of.
Changes in financing the program. Okay, so are you referring to the possibility that the fund itself may be cut or something to that effect?
Yes.
Okay, so although I haven't heard anything per se, Mayor Kim has said from the first day he took office is that he'd like to look at other options going forward, and he's gone on record to say that if he had if he's has the ability to reduce the fund in order to help balance the budget, it's an option that he would look into it. As far as finance, them telling us where we're going with this, it's status quo. We're moving along the same lines. We haven't been told anything to the effect that the fund balance is going to be reduced.
So this means that the negotiations are proceeding as rapidly as they can, and as council members are submitting resolutions to spur them on?
No. So from our department's point of view, we haven't been told not to proceed along the same path. But I was in council week before last, and we had submitted the annual report to council, and one of the questions that came up is are you guys putting brakes on the program? Are you slowing down? And the answer is no. We've had a total of 14 purchases over the life of the program that's kind of started in 2006, but it's taken on more purchases, more life as the program's matured. But it's coming down to just about a purchase a year if you look at the amount of time that the program's been in effect. Having Mayor Kim come on board, I believe he participated in initial 2 purchases, and one of them was a part of the co-op purchase. So when Mayor came on board, then it was, hey, this is the program that started in your watch. This is how it's evolved, and these are our recommendations. So we're going to end up with 2 purchases by the end of the year on Harry's first term.
Are the funds that are totaled up, are they pretty much staying the same, or is the amount of money in the fund growing over time?
Well, the fund is growing. We're at a little over 16 in the PONC fund and 2.3 with the maintenance fund. And as we move through our annual collection, so the fund keeps growing.
Excuse me, are those interest-bearing accounts?
Not sure.
So my concern is if the fund grows faster than we can spend it, it's just a tempting target to be raided. We've seen that at the state legislature with repeated efficiency. And I'm concerned that we might lose the opportunity to acquire lands if we're not acquiring them faster. And I was wondering if you could suggest how the process might be speeded up a little.
I cannot comment. I don't have opinion one way or another how to speed up the process or why acquisitions are considered slower than they are. It's just the process in itself is something that we're proceeding along in a normal fashion. Now, part of the discretionary avenue that we took on as we changed administrations was to start evaluating previous submissions, start looking back at them, and then trying to figure out if we can be more diverse in our portfolio. I mean, granted, Kohala has a huge history, so Kohala has some great acquisitions. But what we'd like to do is, if possible, to move our purchases around to other districts and find value purchases in those districts as well, in addition to looking at leveraging our funds and working on perhaps conservation easements, and then also looking at watershed protection too, if possible. So the evaluation process is something that we've undertaken under the new administration, and those are the other avenues that we're looking as well, because in essence we can accomplish some nice acquisitions via conservation easement and get more bang for our buck, and so use our leverage funds to increase the portfolio that county has.
Well, that's exactly what I was hoping to hear, and I really hope we can apply conservation easements more frequently and get more acquisitions tied up that way.
I mean, we're new to it, but we're starting to get applications that are coming through there, and we have an ask now for conservation easements. So whether it was Waikopuna, Amy Greenwell, the requests are starting to come through for the easements.
Is there something the commission can do as we review the suggestions and make our recommendations to enhance the ability for you to go for conservation easements? Like, should we be inquiring on each property if that's a better path?
Perhaps. It comes down to recommendations. You guys are the committee, the commission. So if your recommendation is for us to look at less fee acquisition and look more along the lines of conservation easements, those are your recommendations. Those are some of the guidelines that we'll follow, definitely.
And should that recommendation be with each application, or should it be as a blanket overall?
I can't say, because we've had in the case of Waikopuna, we had two separate asks. One was for fee acquisition, the other for conservation easement. So I guess it just comes down to what makes the most sense for that particular parcel. And first time we've had that situation occur.
Okay.
Renee has a question.
Well, I have more than one question. The first one is about why it takes so long, and I just wanted to point out that all of the, well, just about all of, almost except Amory Greenwell, I believe every one of those properties that we've looked at is a coastal property. And so that would mean that before anything else, you have to do a shoreline assessment, a shoreline survey. This makes things take longer because there's only one person in the state, as far as I know, who does shoreline surveys, and he's got the whole state to go around and fill up his calendar with. So that's one thing that would increase the time, and we have no control over that. What I'm wondering is about this whole business, of reducing the fund. It is my understanding that the fund was established through an electoral process, that a charter amendment. And so it seems to me, and maybe, I don't know if you, or maybe it's Amy who should talk about this, about the process of changing or amending a charter amendment, because do we have time now even, you know, if Mayor Kim wanted to amend the charter to put something on the ballot, and would it then be on the 2018 ballot or would it be on the 2020 ballot? So would it affect this year's budget or would it not be effective until 2 more years hence?
Right now, I think we're getting really far-fetched from the agenda, but for that particular question, I'm not sure that would be something that we would have to ask the county council, because they're the ones that would bring it as a proposed charter amendment, and it would depend on their calendar as to, you know, how long it takes. I know they have a proposed amendment regarding the salary commission that's going to be coming up as a proposed charter amendment, but it takes 3 readings by the county council, I believe, before it can even be put on the ballot for this year. So I don't know what kind of time frame we're looking at right now, but I can't give you a specified time.
The reason that Rick and I were both concerned is because there is someone who has been sending out a series of very panicky kind of emails saying the 2% fund is threatened with big, you know, bold yellow and everything, and she's sending this out to a pretty large email address book, and so there's going to be a lot of people who are starting to panic, and this has to do about this rumor that, you know, that Harry wants to reduce the fund and how quickly it could happen and that sort of thing. And so that's why it has come up here. And I think you'll be hearing more about that because she's sending out the whole series of emails. I've gotten at least 5 or 6 of them already.
Well, I think that is up to the administration to respond, not this commission. Your duty and responsibility is how it's stated in the county code, and that is at least once a year you have to make this priority list. You have to review, and you can figure out how to leverage funds, but that's what you have to focus on, is what are your responsibilities under the county code. As far as any kind of emails like that, that's something that the administration will have to, I mean, if it comes to that, they'll need to respond to.
Thank you. No further questions.
Yeah. Following up on that, it seems like year after year we see some of the same applications coming in, and it takes the applicants' time and our time to review them. Might it be a little more efficient overall if we just found out if any of these things, either any of the previously recommended applications will either be acted upon or not acted upon for good reason?
Well, I don't see that as a responsibility of this commission. Once you have put it on a priority list, then it's up to the it's actually up to the council to pass a resolution to purchase, and then after that it's up to the administration to negotiate. And sometimes as you well know, the landowner is not a willing seller. We can't force them to sell. So I think you need to focus on the responsibility of the commission and not, you know, you can't resolve all the issues. You're only required to do a certain amount of duties under the code. So I think maybe it would be helpful for all of you to look at the code again to see what your duties and responsibilities are, so that you're not trying to take the world's problems upon your shoulders.
I don't think that's what we're trying to do, but we are seeing repeat applications, and it's not the most efficient way to operate, put stress on staff and so on. And if there's a way that we can get feedback and the applicants can get feedback about the process and this be done in a public forum, I think it would be better for the program and better for all the people involved in it.
Well, I think you need to put something like that on the agenda. Like right now, we are going way off the agenda. But I will say, are you talking about applications that come to you, repeated applications that come
That
to
come
you?
to the commission.
That come to the commission.
Yeah.
Well, you can't stop people from applying if they, if theirs doesn't get selected to be on the priority list. They can continue to submit applications. I don't see any way to tell people they can't submit applications.
No, but once they get recommended as a priority item from the commission, do they still need to be reapplied year after year to keep their standing?
No, once it's on the priority list, that's it.
Those are
And-
the ones that I was concerned about. That
Okay, so no, after that, once it's already on a priority list, then it's beyond your control anyway.
then it's basically the next step is up to the council member of the district that the property is in, and
To pass get a resolution passed recommending that the finance department or authorizing the finance department to negotiate purchase. And then after that, like I said, there are many reasons why the county may purchase or not purchase, depending on, because you cannot purchase for more than the appraised value, right? That's one reason a lot of times they won't purchase. Other times, like I said, is you have to have a owner that wants to sell. So there are many reasons why some of the properties may not get purchased.
and it may be that those reasons, are keeping the total number of purchases down, and perhaps that's why we're seeing this reaction from the public in the emails that Renee just mentioned.
I haven't seen any emails, so I can't speak to that.
Forward them to you.
No, that's okay.
Hello, my name is Wayne Frank. The Hawaii Free Press had it as an article in the Hawaii Free Press. I just glanced at, I wanted to see which, they do I believe it's a bi-weekly, and it was put in a Hawaii Free Press that these purchase funds would possibly be reduced. So that wasn't an email. That just...
I don't know where this information's coming from.
Neither do I, but I'm just noting that it was other than emails. So I had also heard it, but I had read it in the journal, the electronic journal called the Hawaii Free Press.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy, for saying that we're getting way off the agenda. I mean, a lot of these subjects I feel really don't sit within this commission. It's not, I mean, I would encourage the commissioners to take Amy's advice and go back and reread what we are responsible and not responsible for. I only have one other thing that I'd like to add that would help clarify the question that Rick brought up about multiple applications. There have been a number of conversations in the past, and it is something of high value for the properties that are nominated to be able to leverage for additional funds. So if they can go back to other nonprofits or fund sources beyond the county and say, hey, this has been submitted for 5 years. 5 years ago it ranked number 2. Last year it was number 4. If it consistently receives a high ranking, then that shows that it's a high priority. And I know, Tony, I believe, if I recall, you had some input on this with past experience, that it's been very helpful for you in obtaining additional funds to leverage properties by having them reviewed multiple years and ranked highly. Once we make our recommendations and ranking, it's out of our hands. We're done. We're POW. At that point, it goes to county council. So any frustrations about speeding things up, those frustrations should be directed towards county council, because it's the council members that need to make resolutions to purchase properties. And once a property has been reviewed and ranked by this commission, it is available for purchase with PONC funds, even if it was 10 years ago. There isn't a limitation that expires. And so there's a whole list of properties that have been reviewed, ranked, and approved, by this commission that no action has been taken on. And it's not up to us to take action because it's beyond our authority. So, thank you.